Intelligence Services India Limited. I welcome on behalf of the company and thank you and have sincere gratitude for you to attend this press meet. I take this opportunity to quickly introduce the distinguished team on the dais. Starting from the extreme left of the table, Mr. Vamshidhar, he is Group M&A President for SIS. Next to him is Mr. Dheeraj Singh. He is Chief Executive Officer of the company. And to the left of him is Mr. Tapash Chaudhary. He is the Chief Operating Officer of the company. Without taking much time, I will very quickly tell you about the initial public offering and give you a broad overview of the offering before handing it over to the management to talk about the business and the company. This is the issue structure. This is the type of offering. It's an initial public offering from the company. The total offer size is between 9.60 to 9.57 million shares. It has a combination of both primary and secondary. The primary offering is between 4.50 to 4.44 million equity shares, aggregating to rupees 3622.5 million INR. The secondary offering is 5.12 million shares. The usage of proceeds is going to be for repayment and prepayment of a portion of certain outstanding indebtedness availed by the company, funding the working capital requirements of the company, and general corporate purposes. In terms of investors, the 75% of this offering will be placed to qualified institutional placement buyers, 10% will be for retail, and 15% will be for non-institutional tranche. The price band has been announced between 805 and 815 per share, with a bid lot size of 18. The issue opens on 31st of July, which is Monday, and closes on 2nd of August, which is a Tuesday next week. The listing date is expected to be 10th of August, which is a Thursday. In terms of book running lead managers, there are 7 merchant bankers on this issue. Axis Capital, ICICI Securities, IIFL Holdings, Kotak Mahindra Capital Company Limited, ourselves, SBI Capital Markets, Yes Securities, and IDBI Capital Markets. With this introduction, I will request Mr. Dheeraj Singh to come and talk about the business and its positioning. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome for this introduction about our SIS IPO offering. And my colleagues on the dais, my senior management team out here, and all the invited guests from the media and press. So SIS is a market leader in business services as a business services provider. We are the number 1 in security services. We are the number 2 in security services and the fastest growing in security services. We are the number 2 in cash logistics business and also the fastest growing business in cash logistics. We are number 4 in the facility management business and also again the fastest growing company in the facility management business. In totality, as a business services company, we are India's largest and the fastest growing company. The sectors that we operate in are all high growing sectors, and typically if you look at any developed market across the world, our sectors grow at about 1.5 times the GDP growth rate. in a market like India and developing markets like India, it grows by about 2.5 times the GDP growth rate. So the sector's growth is about 20%. However, we've been growing at 1.5 times the market growth rate. So our growth rate has been around 30% over the past many years. In terms of our average return on capital, which is a measure of how much capital you put in and the returns that you get on it, we've been at about 30% again over the past 5 years. So it is a business that is high growth and high return on capital that you generate from this business. In terms of turnover, we reached about 4,600 crores in FY17, and we have 1,54,000 employees on our roll. Over the past 30 years, we've incubated about 4 businesses. We've had 3 international joint ventures with market leaders bringing their international expertise. And we've done 5 acquisitions over the past several years. And we made sure that all of these businesses, whether it's the incubations or the joint ventures, all the acquisitions have delivered superior returns to our shareholders. We have also ventured into the electronic security side of the business, which is something for the future. And we have Tech SIS and We Protect as 2 of the businesses that have been recently incubated in that segment. We are an asset-light, manpower-intensive business, allowing us to generate far superior returns on the capital employed. It is also a very predictable business in terms of the cash flows, because the business comes in annuity form. So what business you get in the first year, that continues largely in the second year. We have a client retention rate of almost 92-94%. And month on month, then you keep adding new business. So what was there earlier, you add new business in the new month also. In security services, last year, we added 3% growth on a month-on-month basis. And on the facility management side, we added again about 2.5% on a month-on-month basis. To support this rapid growth, our supply chain has to be very robust. And we have 18 training centers all across the country, which has the capacity to train more than 25,000 guards. And they are then absorbed by different branches across the country and put on the sites. This has allowed us to not lose a single contract due to lack of manpower. So even in this industry, having high attrition rate, we've been able to always find the people when we needed them. Across the country, we have more than 251 branches in more than 124 cities. That is something that allows us to give a very solid base for the future growth. We've invested in our infrastructure across the country, and we expect to leverage this more and more in the coming years. To manage this growth, we need our process and controls and systems to ensure that while we grow, there is no loss of quality or loss of productivity. And we have developed in-house proprietary software, whether it's the automated recruitment kiosk, which ensures that every person who's joining us meets certain minimum standards that are expected from the industry. Our IOPS, which helps us track our operations team on ground, how they go and visit the customer, how many times they go and visit. And our Sales Max, which tracks the productivity for our salespeople, how many proposals they've been sending, and what is the conversion rate, etc. All of this is finally captured in our 7-finger model, which is a monthly rating score for all our businesses, and which tracks 7 drivers for the business, like new sales, client retention, And from these 4 drivers, what are the 3 key outputs that come, which is on the revenue side, cost side, and the margin side. The performance of these 7-figure models and the ratings are finally fed into the performance management portal, which is our main evaluation metric and for assessment and reward for all our staff. Ours is a people-focused business, and we focus a lot on our employee welfare. Whether it's providing education for the meritorious children of our guards, or through a trust called Seva, where we help anybody in need of emergency financial aid. And also, we've been the first in the industry to award ESOPs to our managers as well as to our guards. And this has yielded a lot of benefits to many other people. About 30 years ago, our founder had started a graduate trainee officer program where the GTOs undergo intensive training. They come in as graduates with NCC cadets and they go intensive training, and then they go and take up managerial roles in the different branches and regions. As of now, of the 14 senior people in the RVP levels, we have 13 from this GTO cadre, and in the branch levels, we have almost half of the 145 people from the GTO cadres. Many of them are sitting here also with us today. The average age of our top 300 managers is about 38 years, so it's a young force, young managerial team. And the tenure of this 300 people is about 8 to 10 years that they've stayed with us. We are well diversified across sectors, so we are not vulnerable to the ups and downs of one particular sector. So right from BFSI to IT, ES to manufacturing and also government sector. At the same time, our total portfolio of the business has been shifting from a high focus or high concentration in the security services to more in the cash logistics and the facility management side also now. Our growth has been also validated by marquee investors, and we've had private equity investors like D Shaw and CX Partners who stayed with us for several years and have got multiple returns on the investment. I would like to mention the 2 individual investors, Mr. Thomas and Mr. Hakan, who were running the world's largest security company, Securitas, for more than 10 years. And after their retirement, the only company that they chose all across the world to invest in was SIS. And again, in this IPO, they are not diluting any share because they continue to believe in the SIS growth story for the future. Coming on the financial metrics, at the group level, we've been growing at CAGR of almost 15%, and last year we touched 4,600 crores. Our EBITDA margin has consistently been above 4.5%. Last year we made 4.9%, and in the actual EBITDA values, we increased that by 30% to reach almost 225 crores. Our return on capital, which is one of the biggest attractors of our business, has been consistently over 25%. And the good thing about this business is that you can convert a lot of the EBITDA into actual cash generation, which in our case has been more than 40%. We use a lot of this cash then to fund our internal accruals and further expansion plans. The growth story continues to remain very strong for India in all our services. In the security side, the minimum wage will continue to increase, and our pricing model is based as a percentage of the increase in the minimum wage. So it is not like a staffing company where you have fixed rupee value for each person that you deploy. So we are well insulated for any increase, and we get that increase towards the margin also. The GDP growth rate will bring more urbanization and asset creation, and wherever there is an asset creation, there will be requirement for all our services, security services and facility management services. The security risk is something that continues to grow in good times or bad times. This is a threat, and we as a security services company are always called upon to mitigate that threat. In the future, the technology will provide a complementary partner to the man guarding services, and we are well positioned again on the technology side for this. On the facility management, there will be more and more focus on outsourcing. The companies which have in-house facility management people on their roles will like to outsource it. Also, with the GST and the focus on compliance, there will be a shift from more non-compliant to compliant providers, which means getting from the non-organized sectors to the organized sectors, which will benefit the organized sector's businesses. While B2B remains our mainstay business, but we see the government as one of the largest buyers of our services. Globally, they procure almost 30% of the total market size business. In India, it is a very small number, and we see a lot of attraction coming from that sector. We've also entered the residential segment in the B2C, which is a large market by itself. On the cash logistics side, in spite of the demonetization and focus on digital transactions, we expect the cash transactions to continue as it was, and the statistics show that post demonetization now it's reached what it was prior to that. The ATMs will continue to expand in the far reaches of the country, and that will bring more opportunities again for us. So our strategy going forward is to continue to focus on our existing businesses across the three segments. We see high growth potential in all of them. We will look at improving our operating margins through leveraging the existing branch network that we set. For example, last year we hired 13,000 man guards, and we hired only 29 people in the back office. So this ratio is improving, which will add to our margins as our productivity goes up. Inorganic growth will continue to be a focus for us. We'll focus on India acquisitions, and we have very strong criteria set for any acquisition. We'll be very selective in that. Any acquisition that gives us less than a minimum IRR that we set for ourselves will not go past the investment committee. And any acquisition will have to make sure that it meets one of our three criteria. It helps us get into a new client segment, or a new geography segment, or a new service segment. What also I'd like to point out is something that puts us in a unique position compared to any of our other businesses in the sector, is that our Australia business is a cash cow, generating about $20 million on an annual basis for us, which we can bring to India, and that helps us again expand further in India too. At the same time, our Australia balance sheet allows us to raise debt at a very competitive rate outside, which has got a natural hedge because of our Australia business, and we again use that for our expansion into India. We have been on the forefront of using our technology. You've seen some of the proprietary software that we have, and we continue to focus and develop that in order to manage the large workforce, the rapid growth, and at the same time ensuring that there is no compromise in quality that we offer to our clients on a consistent basis. So that is our strategy for the forward. I would like to now answer any Q&A that you'll have along with my colleagues. Thank you.